So just to start, Thomas, me, we all know each other, but just for the sake of people listening to us that may not know us, I'm Thomas. I'm not Thomas. I'm
Yeah,
Loic
that's a
from
lie.
Manchester Gima. I'm gonna start again because that's not good at all. English is not my first language. Frank, start introducing yourself.
Hi, my name is Frank. I compete with APK Blue in the US team. I've been doing chase tag since 2018. And yeah, I'm also known as Fank because of memes and technical issues.
The legend.
I was gonna come to that straight right after. That's one of the main topics we have to talk about today.
So I'm Mark. I am captain of APK Blue. Been competing since 2020. We started on APK Gray with Frank, and here we are. Yeah.
Great. So, do you come from chase tag directly, or did you start with parkour or other activities?
So I started in parkour. I started when I was 15, and then, like we said, in 2020, had the opportunity to play chase tag, and there was no going back. I just fell in love with the sport.
So you're not doing parkour anymore. Are you mainly focused on chase tag?
I still do parkour. It is very chase tag focused. I end up doing a lot more threads, a lot more techie speed things. I have not focused as much on big jumps or flips and tricks as much. Definitely more chase tag focused, but I still do parkour.
Okay, I already have a lot of questions for you, but what about you, Fank, the legend? How did you
guy
start?
with the glasses.
I started parkour when I was 12 years old with a friend asking me if I wanted to be a ninja. And then a month into it, we were deciding, like, this has to be called something. We don't know what it's called. And then we looked up jumping off buildings, not dying. And then we found Speed Airman. And then the rest was history. Fell in love with it. Eventually I went into like doing sport parkour league competitions like for speed and skill. And then eventually we got tapped to do chase tag because the DeVoe brothers reached out to Tavon to help make the boys and everything. And then from there I just stuck with it ever since. And I still do both like as much as I can without my body like screaming at me.
All right, that's a very solid introduction.
Yeah.
I would say we are probably like both nerds about world chase tag. We are interested in all things about like training, stats, data, anything. Would you say you've been hooked to chase tag now, and did you shift your training towards chase tag more, or are you still like very broad kind of athlete?
Let's see. It's definitely had waves for both, where I'll have certain times where I'm very chase tag focused, and then I'll change up my training to focus more on that. And then I'll go back and be like, oh yeah, parkour, big jumps. You can do things that don't involve threading through things really fast. And so yeah, that was definitely like the thing I've learned to balance out now. Because I remember in the beginning I was just like, chase tag, chase tag, chase tag. And then I was like, oh yeah, I can do other things that are a lot as stressful on my mind than chase tag. So yeah.
And what kind of impact chase tag had on both your lives? Like I know I've been doing parkour for 15 years. I've been listening to podcasts, watching videos, documentaries, and everything. I've seen many tracers saying like, "Oh, parkour changes my vision on the world, changing my vision on the city, changing the way I like trust myself and move forward and everything." Do you feel any of that came with you practicing chase tag? Did it bring something new, or was it more of the same feeling that you had with parkour, but just something more new, like a newer version of it?
I would say kind of both, where it did definitely feel like a newer version of an approach for parkour. But it also gave more of an entryway to be more competitive in it with having someone else there as like the feedback. In the words of Evan Beyer from Hub PTC, the quad is our octagon. So that definitely like fulfilled that kind of like still funneling the flight with the fight aspect. So that really like changed a lot of things where I was like, ooh, it's like boxing. I like this.
Yeah, like you couldn't be more right. Like the DeVos, when they built World Chase Tag, they had like a strong
influence
by UFC and fighting. And as a matter of fact, like York Hall in London has been a very like well-known place for boxing in England. So it's like very influenced by that kind of sport, like opposition sport.
Do you think chase tag is therefore more stressful than just doing parkour because of that competitive aspect of it?
I think it is stressful in a different way, where in parkour, the challenge presented is you, and you're essentially like controlling the parameters of all of it. With chase tag, you have none of that. You essentially have to react toward the other participant. and then from there trying to maneuver that, gauging another person and getting understanding of what to do is a different type of stressor in comparison to like just grinding and trying to figure out how to complete a challenge.
Yeah, I agree there. Personally, I've always liked competition growing up, so going against someone, one-on-one on the quad, while it's a different kind of stress, for me, I find it more relaxing and exciting than it was ever doing like a speed comp where,
Okay.
you'd have your time compared to someone else's. Just being on there with someone else, it adds that extra push.
Mm.
But I agree with you. Yeah, it is a different kind of stress. I don't think it's more stressful, but I do think it is a different experience.
So I'm gonna ask another question around the same topic. I know kind of like half of the answer because we talked about it at WC6 USA. We talk a lot about tactics, techniques, trainings, and everything. There is a lot more about chase tag, like analyzing games, watching the videos, bringing a quad into your back garden and everything. What kind of other impacts did World Chase Tag have on your life? Did your wife get annoyed that you're like too focused on World Chase Tag?
I know for me, and Frank's laughing because I've talked to him about it. So when I got into chase tag, it was, for lack of a better term, a complete and total obsession. I can talk chase tag, train chase tag, do chase tag 24/7, barely sleep and get right back to it. And my wife, while she does enjoy it, she thinks it's exciting, she's very happy for it and very supportive. It was a lot at once because it was not around, and then all of a sudden it was everything. So I myself had to find a balance for sure.
Yeah, I feel you there. That's kind of the same here. I'm not like I'm allowed to talk chase tag, but there is a point where she's like, "Stop it now. That's enough."
I can very much relate there. Yeah.
Right. So as I said, like as well, like you brought the 12-meter quad, the first one, the official quad that was used for the World Chase Tag 6, USA and every USA tournament before, to Indy. For you have like an Instagram account called WCT Meetup Indy, where you like kind of build a community in your area of people coming to train. So there is like a little bit of folklore around this because it's like in a farm with like cows behind and everything, which is very funny.
No.
How do you feel about it? Like, how was it, this journey of like bringing the quad, starting to bring people on the quad and see people getting excited? And now you even have, I've seen on your stories, like athletes coming from like LA and everything, flying in for the weekend just to train on the quad there. How did you make that happen?
So I started meetups in 2022. No, the first one was 2021. But after the 2021 US comp, Blue obviously didn't do great. We got knocked out, and I just wanted to keep playing. And so actually I went to the Michigan Parkour Jam, and they had a little mini chase tag comp, and I ended up helping set that up and realized it's not very hard to throw together a bunch of people to play chase tag. So that kind of is where the idea of meetups was born. So I called the DeVoe brothers. We had a call with the two of them, me and Two Rock, and we came up with this idea of meetups. And I believe it was Christian's idea to call them meetups because that kind of went back to when they would get started. They'd have all the people meet up and they'd have fun with it. And so we had a gym nearby that one of our athletes worked at, and she was happy enough to let us run our events there. And then as we got closer to the summer and the next US comp we wanted to prepare, she had a farm with a lot of land. And so talking with her, she let us build a deck platform to put the quad on, brought it out, and we had it for, I think, 3 months. And the APK teams practiced on them, and we also had a couple meetups on them. And having people train on the quad and just play on the quad for the first time was really exciting. I know we had people would fly in for. For me, the most fun was there was one kid, he had never heard of the gym, he had never heard of meetups, he only knew what chase tag was. He had seen it on YouTube, thought it was really cool, and convinced his mom to drive him an hour over to play on the quad and play in the meetup. And that was just really cool to hear because that wasn't a student that had been taking classes, that wasn't someone that we knew. It was just some random kid that knew about chase tag and found out he could go play it. So it was really cool to have that show up.
So yeah, basically you studied the meetups in the gym. We've seen some of the videos as well with the rail yard equipment. You made like some kind of, I'm going to call it a fake loading bay or improvised loading bay and everything. You have something that looks like the sisters and stuff. You managed to make your improvised quad in a gym before bringing the quad out.
I do have to give credit to, I give credit to our athlete Logan. That is his gym, and while I've helped organize stuff, like he actually built those wooden sisters, and like So he deserves a lot of the credit for the equipment and the setup there. We've worked together to see what stuff should go where and a lot of workshopping with that, but he deserves a lot of credit there. He's also helped me run all the
Right.
events.
We can put probably like his Insta for the
Yeah.
gym and everything
Yeah.
on top of the
Mhm.
the thing. Thanks to him, obviously. Is it your dream at some point to have a quad in your back garden, or would you rather to build like a parkour spot or have a swimming pool? What would you pick
Quad.
if you could choose?
It's
Quad.
not even a question. Quad immediately. If I could walk out in my backyard, play on a quad, Rob is living my dream.
Would you be the only one in the decision, or would you have to negotiate with your
I would
wife
have
and
to
kids and
negotiate
everything?
a little bit. Like, she is supportive of it, but I've actually talked to her. Like, if we did get a spot, a house that was big enough, have the space for it, it would definitely be a conversation, and she's not against it. It needs to be done in a way that doesn't look like this giant contraption that's taking up every space that's an eyesore, which I think it's beautiful, but neighbors might disagree. But as long as we work that out, yes, 100% would love to have a quad in the backyard.
Would you confirm that choice, Frank? Would you get a quad instead of a swimming pool in your garden? I mean, I don't know the weather in Indy. Like, maybe it's very like
Chilly.
cold
yeah.
and everything.
We get 100 degrees, we get -40. We get all of it.
Thinking of it now, it would be bad either way. It's either I get a cold quad or I get a cold pool. But then again, with the pool, I could do cold plunges, and that would suck, but it would make my body feel good. Probably a quad.
Okay. We're gonna have to find a way to make them cheaper for people to buy and put in their gardens.
Make them out of balsa wood.
Oh, perfect. There's no issues with that.
So maybe we can go back on APK. We were actually wondering the fact that you guys, especially in APK Blue, you are from different part of the country. Is it difficult for you to train or to find time? Do you have to travel a lot? Like, how are you managing all of this?
How far away are you from each other already driving?
2 hours?
2 hours.
No, that's nothing. Like for Americans, that's nothing. For French people, 2 hours. I don't go 2 hour drive on the weekend anywhere. But for Americans, that's like going to work or something.
Yeah.
I know when I went to Atlanta to deliver the quad with Mark to Rock, that was like a 9-hour drive or something. And he was like, that's not so far. And then he drove all the way, like no break except for like, like going to the restroom or going to get some gas or something. And he was like, no, that's nothing. 9 hours in France, I can cross the whole country, go from Belgium to Spain.
Probably.
And I wouldn't do it in one day.
Yeah, we've got a lot of driving to do. As far as like training between all the athletes, right now, I'm trying to think, do we have 12 athletes in the Midwest out of all of our alternates? That was not right, Frank?
I think, yeah, because the only ones that are really... No, we have 11. Yeah, 11 in the Midwest, because Brian, Brother, and Chris.
Yeah, and we're counting like alternates and people who are training with us, not just like the starter athletes. We've got a couple extras that we train with, so if we do need to have someone step in, they're ready to go.
For people who are not close to Indy and like the gym and the quad when it's there, currently it's not there, but who don't have access to all this infrastructure, how do they train? Do they have to come to you to train and compete in like the small chase tag meetup that you make? Or do you have like a training regimen that everyone shares? Or does everyone does whatever you want just to come before the competition? Like, do you have something structured or not?
A little bit of a hybrid. Everyone's a good athlete in their own merit, but Frank has done a really good job of putting together some good workouts and drills for everybody. Frank, like I said in the past season, he functioned as coach because he was recovering from a shoulder. So he really stepped up in that role. He's planning to come back as an athlete, but he's been a great coach so far, giving like supplemental for everyone to stay on the same track, and then everyone does their own thing outside of that as well.
Talking about the injury, we were wondering, because you did stop competing for a while, Frank, and now you're coming back. Do you notice any difference from the time where you were playing and the chase tag right now?
Yeah. Everyone definitely wants it a lot more, to say the least, especially with, and I'll be completely honest, like after seeing Texas, I was very, very...
WCT6 USA for people who were not there.
Thank you, Loic.
Mm-hmm.
I was very much
I'm
like...
always here to add.
I was very...
You can go on.
Swear to God,
Not
Loic.
now. Go for it.
Anyways, after seeing World Chase Tag 6 US, in Texas on October 8th through 10th. I was kind of thinking maybe I shouldn't compete because I didn't think I could keep up.
Okay.
Because the amount of athleticism, drive, and passion everyone had at that tournament, I was like, wow, I don't know if I can do this. And then pretty much it was talking to like both my team members as well as friends at the event. They were like, Frank, shut up. Go and compete. And I was like, okay, I'll train up again. My shoulder's feeling better. And Atlanta was definitely like a good tester too, because it got me like back in the headspace a little bit.
Yeah, that was my question. Like playing in Atlanta in that smaller event, it gave you back some confidence, or are you more worried of competing now?
It gave me a lot of confidence because in my head, I thought the Atlanta event that happened at Woodstock was going to be kind of like a pickup game. Like everyone was just going to be like playful with it. I was completely wrong, which was great because then I wasn't playing around either. I was going to treat that like my World Chase Texas US since I didn't get to compete. And I like went hard into training, just like everything into it. And I was like, whoa, they're also giving their all. And I'm doing pretty good. I think I'm doing pretty good then.
I remember a couple of chases between you and Gerard Luthi, for instance, that were really, really intense. And I think that you did great. That's my personal take on it, but I think you should compete.
While we talk about it, so Apex were not there, but they came with another team with a funny name called DTF.
Dudes tagging fast.
That's some creative naming. So they came with like, was Amos, Gerard?
Yeah, and then Olaf, and then Maxwell Boys.
Max Boys.
So a bit of Sun and Moon, and also, well, Hollywood Freerunner, because now Amos is...
So basically, like, if I'm not mistaken, they still won the competition in Atlanta. Who do you think will be the team that will bring Apex down? They currently have like the best stats of any team. Like they've never lost any game. They gave away 1 evasion in World Chess Tag 5, maybe 2 in World Chess Tag 6 USA, 2 or 3, like very little. Yeah. You came very close, like I think APK Blue, to winning against Apex. Yeah. Do you think you will be the ones beating them at Panam, or do you think they're going to still stay undefeated until the Worlds?
I want Blue to be the ones to beat Apex. I think we have some of the best chance there. Even now, granted, going back to 2020, it's a completely different sport at that point. Everyone has improved so much. I think that's still APK Gray versus Apex, still the closest they've come to losing. And even though in this past USA 6, we did lose to them, I do think it's still a very close match. I think we've given them the hardest fight they've gotten, other than maybe Apex Sun. But we were also very close to beating Apex Sun as well. So I think APK Blue has a great spot.
Apex Sun, which was previously Apex Doge, also is unbeaten, undefeated, except for when they played Apex Moon.
Yeah, but this year, they had a couple of matches that were really close.
Yeah. So. But like they still have both of the teams that has like beating Apex Doge will already be like Apex Sun will be like already something big. Even if I don't think like Apex Doge, and I'm sure they also want to be the one beating Apex Moon. That's like, do you think Apex Doge, Apex Sun will beat Apex Moon, or will it be APK Blue or another team that will come to Panam?
Like Hollywood.
I think it's going to be Blue personally. Also, a quick thing to raise Blue up is this iteration of Blue is only lost to an Apex team.
I thought you were going to say both are going to beat Apex Moon, like Doge and APK Blue, which would be quite an upset.
I don't think they're going to meet anywhere other than the finals. So I think the only way. So I don't think both teams would be able to play them at that point. I think someone's going to get knocked out along the way.
I mean, APK Blue may fall in the same group as Apex. That's still a possibility. Yeah. It's unlikely.
I think they just want to pit us against each other. They do every time.
What do you think, Frank? Do you think 2023 is the year where Apex is going to lose, or?
It is an arms race that's been going on since 2020. It's definitely getting closer and closer. Some people are a lot further along than others. Like, I think the top 2 teams to beat Apex Moon would be Sun or APK Blue. And I'm really hoping it's Blue. We just got to be smart, strategize, and just know when to pick who.
Yeah. And don't you think that Hollywood can do it?
Yeah, with Amos now, I know they didn't have a lot of time to train with Amos before, but now they're having all this time in between to strategize and talk. So I think we're going to see almost a brand new Hollywood soon. Like they were always strong, and now we're going to see the tactics added onto their just extreme athleticism they've always had.
Yeah, I think Hollywood have some of the strongest athletes. They have like a really packed team, but maybe it was like the lack of strategy to some extent. Obviously, they were like still a strong team, always reaching like finals, semifinals, like final stages and everything. So that's not like they don't know anything about it. But maybe they were too reliant on one main athlete. And as good as Kyle is, that's really hard to carry the team when everyone is good. Like Wes was great, Omar was great, and everything. And I think for them having more time on the quad, they would bring something that could be quite surprising for other teams as well.
That's also a team I'd like to play. I've never played Hollywood. I would love to play Hollywood at some point just to try because we've never had the shot.
We did play Hollywood, remember?
Well, in a practice, I guess, but I also had a cracked head at that point. I didn't get to play really.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Did you notice like even Amos like joined Hollywood at WST6 US, and they had a specific order when they would send athletes. They would always like every game send Amos, Kyle first, then send Amos, then send Omar, then usually send Kyle again, and then send Wes or Dale, depending on who they felt, and potentially send Kyle again. And every game they would send the same like sequence of athletes. Do you think that's something they're going to replicate? And are you preparing for that kind of things when you analyze games? Not only Hollywood, but like other teams. Do you have a game plan for Apex, Hollywood, like the main teams that you think would be a problem for you in the competition? Or are you just going there and like kind of, you know the athletes and you can improvise on the spot because you know enough of them?
Frank and I usually strategize beforehand, and then we go with the team and we all figure out what the best matchups would be. Frank last year was really good at the US6. He was our reconnaissance, and they came in like, hey, this is this person, they're fast, they do this, they go under, this person goes over. He had the lowdown on everybody, and then as a team, we figured out who would be best to go against who.
So can you give us one of your game plans for Panams?
Well, do we really want to release all the secrets?
Not yet.
We may share that podcast right before Panam. So if you want to use it to like kind of lead people away from your strategy,
maybe it can be a mind game.
I think I've heard Frank and Mark are not going to play for APK, but for like Empire or something like that. Yeah. Is that true? Is that a true rumor or something?
Yeah.
Oh no, we're going to go join GNF.
Can't you already see? I'm on GNF now. Oh, they needed an extra body.
Frank's not actually going to play. He's just going to stand by and be a cheerleader from the GNF. He's going to throw everybody else off.
I also made my own team of one. I talked to the brothers. They were fine with it.
Yeah, we have a guy here that wanted to do it. He wanted to compete against like Blacklist, Fata, and everything in French competition. Being alone. That wasn't allowed by the organizers, but that would have been a fun thing to watch.
Well, what was Chris's drill he came up with over the summer? Was it cardio cage?
Cardio cage, yeah.
What is cardio cage?
The cardio cage is when you get on as the evader, even if you get tagged, you stay on for all 16 chases.
But there's not a 30-second break in between.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We have the same thing here. Like the guy that wanted to play alone, it's Emil, the captain from Kimeo. He has a training, like a challenge, which is called like the Sanchez. So it's not a Mexican name. Sanchez in French means 100 chases. So you play 50 chases as the chaser, 50 chases as the evader in a row. And you send new athletes every time against you. And you have like, sometimes he would do it with like 15-second rest, 10 seconds rest, 5-second rest. And that's just like, and sometimes he would do it, with like the mask on the face, with like the sedation jacket and everything. Yeah. And that's, when you watch it, you're like, like as much as I love chase tag, I don't think I could do it. I would throw up before like even get to that point.
I'm on the same page as you, Loic. My body wouldn't take it. I'd try, but my body wouldn't take it.
I would do it.
Already I fall playing one chase. So if I did 100, I would just like, yeah.
You were talking about strategy and the fact that these new APK Blue only lost to Apex teams. And I was wondering, like, how are you, like choosing which player is going on which team, the blue, the gray, how is it working? Do
you have like an A and B team? Or is that two separate teams that have their own path and recruitment systems and everything?
So it's not quite A team and B team. It's more of veteran team and experimental team. So if you do come in and join, you're most likely to join on the gray team, just because that's where we'll put people in and we'll get them started. And then the exception would be like Elijah. He went straight to blue. So it is two separate teams. We view them as kind of the veteran and the experiment. I think it's how Winston, who's still the captain of gray, that's how he's like, they're experimental. We try things, see who works, but it's still two very strong teams. We don't put the duds on a team. We put strong athletes on each team.
No, I mean, it makes sense, but still, like, great team currently serves as like the recruiting team to like try out someone before they can join like the more experienced team. Is that the case?
Kind of, but at the same point, it's not like we're changing athletes out super often. It's like I don't see blue changing granted I say that, but blue has changed a little bit every year. But the idea would be get two solid teams, and then again, gray would be that experimental, and then as we lose people on blue, we'll probably bring someone who has been on gray for a while and wants a little bit of a change to bring them on. And both teams train together all year round. So
Mark, you're the captain for blue team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think APK Blue would be stronger if Frank went back to gray?
Maybe, but I like Frank. I've never played on a team against Frank.
Good question, Lois.
Let's be honest, any team that Frank joins is stronger.
I love Frank. He knows I love him.
He's my hero.
We have a real good relationship with Frank. He sends me like hugs and kisses at night and everything.
Okay, it's getting intimate right now, so maybe we should...
Maybe we should give him some time. Okay, we can back off for a minute.
Maybe we could.
Yeah.
Close your eyes, boys. I want you to listen.
So, Frank, we came back to like after the injury, like playing in Atlanta and everything. So I'm here making jokes and everything, but do you think being the cover for the certification manual gave you confidence in chase tag?
It definitely gave me a different perspective on how to look at chase tag, like seeing just the origin points as well as getting a better understanding of the things that have gone into making it as a whole. It's definitely given me a lot more of an appreciation for it, like for sure. Because this is, from doing that cert, it is not an easy feat to not even get certified, but just to like even get a quad. That's just so much. So yeah, it definitely did give me a different view.
But having a photo of you on the cover of that manual had no impact on you whatsoever.
All right, so hold up.
It is such a good picture.
We need to get some royalties at this point. Like, they use this photo
everywhere.
Every single one. Look at that. Literally fingertips. True, like, image of
like
chase tag.
Perfect form. Perfect form. That's like textbook material.
And that picture doesn't do it justice. His body is straight, like completely straight line going through. Like it cuts off part of the picture. It doesn't do it justice. It's still a great picture, but seeing the full thing, his air form going through the lazy boy is beautiful.
Yeah, I remember Wenson asked like in 2020 when we were in Atlanta, he was like, when Jake was standing right here, you thought you could get him, and I was like, yeah, and he was like, you're fucking weird.
So while we talk about like dropping Frank to make blue stronger and everything, basically building teams, we have a little task for you that's a little more interactive and everything.
Yeah, that's kind of a ritual.
Yeah. And that's also an assessment. If you do wrong, we're not gonna upload you online and everything. You're gonna stay in the abyss of World Chase Tag. Actually, I didn't tell you the name of the podcast. It's called World Chase Talk. That's a very good name, catchy name.
That's
good. Ooh, I like that. That's a great name. That's a good name.
Thank you. I found it. So no, the assessment is very easy. It's like if you could pick any athlete, parkour, ninja, chase tag, people who played or didn't play, or people who retired or anything, any athletes, and you want to build the strongest team. I'm not saying building APK team, building the strongest team ever. Mm-hmm. You're together. You're the two coaches, the two managers of the team. Who do you pick? You're allowed to pick yourself, but you can pick anyone from any country, even people who didn't play. You're going to have to pick together. You have to negotiate together. Mm-hmm. I can give you my team, if that helps as like a starting point for the discussion. My team would be Rob Schill, Jason Bergeron, both from Apex, Orlando Deveau from FAT, Naim from Parkour 59, Emil from Kimeo, and Harun from Eugen.
Yeah, that's a stack.
I definitely have some similar ones I easily agree with.
But they're taken. You have to pick other people. You're not allowed to pick them.
That's your team, so we don't get to pick them? Orlando was like first on my list.
Jason was
I'm sorry.
Well, Michael Sliger's available, so definitely get Sliger in there.
Sligo.
In Orlando. Okay.
Let's see. Oh, I thought Orlando wasn't available. He said we got to put him against.
I wrote Sligo, but you're lucky because Thomas put Sligo in his team. So if he said his team, you wouldn't be able to pick Sligo.
He's trying to cheat so that he can get the best team.
I'm trying to see like who would you pick now that I've removed the most obvious choices.
I would agree with Sliger.
Honestly, I thought Sliger would be an obvious choice. But anyway, what about you, Frank? Who you got so far?
I'm thinking Jared right now, just because his performance in Atlanta was really good.
Yeah, he was really impressive.
Yeah, he was scary.
Luke Stone's always pretty. He's pretty consistent.
He's
powerful on the quad.
He's fast and powerful. The thing with him is that he's a rundown athlete. He doesn't take a second to think like, oh, go here and there.
Oh, we don't have anyone on this dream team yet though, so I feel like he's a good fit. We need a rundown.
All right, fine. We'll get initials and then we'll chop down as we go.
Yeah.
So currently you have Sligo, Jared, and Luke Stones.
Mm-hmm.
You can still pick 6 athletes.
No, we're trying
3
to deliver
athletes.
with
Sorry,
our
mine.
choices.
Yeah.
I kind of say Seth, like Wang easy.
I thought you were going to
Wang.
say Seth Ridgen.
Nah, he's slow.
No, he's retired.
I mean, you can pick retired athletes for your dream team. It's not like you're going to recruit them for real life. So
Mhm.
it'd be crazy. We've got someone say Cristiano Ronaldo they would take. So
Which was an interesting choice, to be honest. So you're not taking anyone from APK, nor blue or gray.
Well, we're getting our bigger range first, and then we're gonna slim it down. Give us some time.
Yeah, before we get with the personal choice, because I'll be honest, Frank is up there for me, especially you guys will see it soon, especially since he's upped his evading game. That was always we talked like that was his weak point. He's always easy chaser. I say easy chaser meaning like he had an easy time chasing, but evading he was a little bit rocky. But he's pretty solid now. So I think I personally put Frank in there.
you still have one spot, guys.
What about you, Mark? What do you think of yourself?
Tell us.
I'm big and slow.
I mean, I'm big and slow too. I'm just smaller, big.
Hey, I'm 2 of you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yet you can still go through the ridge, which is impressive and in a really fast way.
To be fair, like we probably will pull some video to show it, but I think Mark has some of the best moves through the ridge I've seen. And I've told you this in person in WC6 US, but also not only you have some of the best moves through the ridge, you have some of the best moves for someone that's 100 kilo.
Yeah.
Like you're double my weight, like chest size and everything. I was like, fuck, how does he dive there? I don't even want to go there walking.
Hey, all of those spots are like all the gaps are so much bigger than you think they are. I do remember the first time looking at I know you've spent a lot more time on the quad than I have, but I remember going on there and it's like I dove through there I think in 2020 and I looked back and I was like, how did I do that? I found a spot I could practice and I was like, how did I do that? I have it took so much practice just to actually be able to do it without adrenaline, without being in the moment.
So would you put yourself as the last athlete?
I do like to play, and I would love to play with that team. So to be selfish, yes, I would put myself there.
All right, so you got Sligo, Jared, Luke Stone, Seth Wang, Frank, and yourself.
I mean, it sounds like a solid team to me. What do you think, Frank?
I think good. Let's do an unselfish one, just for fun.
Yeah.
I take you and me out and pick the people out.
If you want, I can give you a joker. You can pick one athlete from my roster and remove one from yours. You can pick anyone between Rob, Shield, Jason, Orlando, Naeem, Emil, and Harun.
Jason.
But you got to remove someone.
Me.
Probably one of you.
I would take myself out for Jason or Rob.
Oh, 100%. I take myself out for Jason or Rob.
But what if take both ourselves off, put Jason or Rob on?
You can only pick one, guys.
What? Jason.
And Frank, I'm captain, so I'm taking myself out. You have to play, and we'll put Jason in with you.
But you said you would take Lando first. That would be your first pick. And now you're saying Jason.
Well, Frank has been saying he wants Jason really badly, and I listen to my athletes.
So do I remove Mark or Frank for Jason?
We're going to take me out and put Jason in. I know Frank's going to say the opposite, but I'm captain, so I'm making him play.
So,
I know how
the
much he wants
selfish
to play.
choice is playing yourself, and the not selfish choice is bringing Jason in place of Mark. All right, that's a very strong team, I think.
Frank, don't give me that look. You didn't get to play at the last tournament. It's your turn.
Well, I was also going to say, if I take myself out, I would put in probably Max Boyce.
Max Boyce
Okay.
is also a very good pick.
That would be in any way with you guys or Max and Jason or one of each. A very strong team to play, and I would be excited to see it.
So any iteration of either of those teams.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. Like,
Mhm.
let's make it happen now. Let's make at
An all-star
Panam's,
game. We should make an all-star game.
I've been saying that for years.
everyone in your team except for Luke Stones will be at Panam. So we should make a game with your team, like at midnight when the Devos are not here and World Chase Tag is closed.
Just for each
Just
story.
go there, open the venue.
I have been saying it for years though that I want to do an all-star match, or all-star tournament. I want there to be no more than 2 athletes that are on the same professional team can be on the same all-stars team and set up a whole
Okay.
bracket with it.
Let's make it happen. I would love to see that.
I would too.
Oh, yeah.
Here, I do hate to say it though, but I do need to get going now. I really want to stay. This is so much more fun than work.
Yeah, no worries. We're almost close to the end anyways. Thank you very much for coming, Mark. We'll have you
Thank you
again
guys for
probably
having
when
me.
we come to Panam's. We'll bring the mics and have another one.
Ooh, that sounds
Could be
I
nice.
look
With
forward
all of
to it.
APK Blue.
I can't wait to talk to you guys then and see you then. So thanks for having me, and I'm looking
you.
forward to seeing what else you guys do.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you, bye. So,
We're 3.
only the most important person now.
Toma.
What is the weirdest thing you misheard? For people who don't know Frank, this is a pretty classical question from Frank. While you're at a restaurant, he would look at you very seriously while you order and he would be like, hey, what is the weirdest thing you misheard? Or other question by Frank. If you could get 1 foot vertical jump every time you drink a bottle of ketchup, how many would you drink? And you're just there wondering about life. Like, first, you're thinking about the question, and then you think of what led to that question, and then you're lost in that.
But we are interested by knowing your answer now.
So, how many bottles of ketchup would you drink? And then, what is the weirdest thing you misheard?
Well, for the bottle of ketchup, does my jumping stat stay as I get older? Like, let's say I'm 50 and I lost all my jumping capability. Do I still keep what I did with the bottles?
I think maybe you have a natural decline of your abilities like you would naturally. But if you keep drinking, you're going to keep offsetting that loss.
Ooh,
of
at least a
physical
bottle
power.
every 2 weeks to a month at that point. I think I'd make a plan. If I'm in my later 40s, that's when I'll be like, all right, it's time to start drinking now. And then it'll be once a month, then it will turn to 2 times a month, and then it'll just go like that. I'll be an addict essentially just to keep my jumping power.
Okay, so by next year you would have 24 feet.
Easy.
Classic.
Dive through anything on the quad. Let's see. And then how PG is this podcast?
I don't know. How PG is your answer? That's the question.
It's fairly, but it's also
I don't really have any rules, but
We can just censor your you can say you know what we're gonna do, we're gonna censor it no matter what, so just say it. If it's something very soft, we'll still censor it and people think you're badass.
No, if it's soft, then I want them to hear it because that'd be funny still. All right, here's the one I can think of in recent memory. So my friend Han is a tricker. He was talking about the different variations of how to scoot into a flip. And then he said, and this is me hearing him, I'm on the spring floor. Next to us is an aerial silks class happening with moms and everything. And I thought he said the Aaron scoot multiple times. And I was like, who the hell is Aaron? And he was like, no, the N-word scoot. And I was like, oh. And then I remember one of the moms looked at me and she was like, Frank, you can't be this dumb. It was like, I'm not. I'm just deaf, apparently. I need hearing aids plus glasses.
You can't be this dumb.
Yeah, good times. I had him say that 5 times over and over loudly.
The best thing is I'm sure you'll have all the stories by the time we get to Panams. And I'm going to have to ask you this question, on a monthly basis or something to know what's up.
Oh, wait, here's a good one I got for you. Loic, When was the last time you let pride get the best of you?
Every day, probably.
Toma, do you know what is?
I have no idea, actually. It might be...
This one you have to censor. So is when you get two males.
A few moments later.
I think we should keep your image and remove the audio and just have you being like...
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank. We're gonna use that, as the teaser for the podcast. We're gonna cut it, put it on as a reel on Instagram, and add, the words on top, like the subtitle, and that will be like, "Come listen to World Chase Tour."
I need you to put like filthy fank or something, just as icing on the cake.
That's crazy.
Wait, you never heard of these?
No.
No. We don't go on the same website as you, I think.
I just go on Facebook and Instagram.
We don't have the same Facebook, nor the same Instagram.
All right. Probably my last question, because then I think we need to call it a day because it's very late here. What is the after party for Panams?
If we need to find Arnold Schwarzenegger, and we need to shake his hand.
Will he be here?
I would assume it's called the Arnold.
That's true.
He just doesn't go. He's like, I'm not feeling it this year, guys. Like, it's your thing. It ain't after you.
All I'm saying is, like, we need to find ways to make it as memorable as last time.
Oh, that's easy.
So I'm tasking everyone to find ideas. Yeah, I'm sure it's easy for you. Already you told us about. I don't know if we're open to that experiment, but we can find something else to do together.
Toma, I can open up your world, Bubby. Just let me try.
I think I'm alright, but I do appreciate the offer.
All right, I'm gonna have to cut it here before we go too deep into that.
We definitely could.
But we don't.
I know I
could.
could.
Too deep, yeah. That was the right word. Anyway.
I know you could. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being yourself and being so amazing, Frank.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Anytime.
Always a pleasure to have you and talk with you.
Yeah. Can't wait to see you boys in a couple
And
months.
see you very soon.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All
Stay
right.
safe.
Yeah, bye.
Stay safe. Bye.